These weeks just sail by. Here we are again. It's a Friday. And again, I got a whole list of stuff that I got to comment on. And I discovered that the best description for these videos really is it's therapy for me. Because I generally don't like getting into long discussions with people that I disagree with. And so coming on here and doing these videos, I feel much better after I've made them. So I hope you feel better after having watched them, but we'll see. I did the video about unexplained wealth orders in Canada and about how Canada is going to invoke the law they have over in England, at least in British Columbia, saying that if you've got money or stuff you can't explain where you got it from, the government will ask you, where'd you get that? And if you can't explain it properly, well, an unexplained wealth order means they can take it from you. And I pointed out that this is actually very, very akin to civil asset forfeiture. And I jokingly said in the video that they claim they're doing this to fight crime. And I said, and someone's going to actually respond and go, oh, Steve, there really is crime in British Columbia. I got an email from somebody. By the way, I'm going to later on mention that I don't like emails complaining about videos. So I got an email from somebody complaining and goes, Steve, because number one, you mispronounced the word premier. In Canada, we say premier. It's premier, not premier. Now, I've never heard anybody call it a premier, but I have heard premier. And I think the word, whether English or French, is most commonly pronounced premier. But the premier, apparently, did this, and he said, you obviously don't know, BC has a really bad crime problem. I mentioned right in the video that that's what they said their excuse was. I'm not saying they do or don't have a crime problem. Is that how you fight crime? With unexplained wealth orders? Oh boy. I have to tell you, Premier, I have to tell you, I get dozens of emails a day from people trying to get me to buy search engine optimization for my website. And I block them and I get dozens more every day. And so I know some of them are the same and they just keep changing their email addresses. I know that there's literally thousands of people out there just bombarding people like me with these messages. So that's one of the emails I get all day long. I wake up in the morning, there's 15, 20 in my inbox. I broom them. Over the day, I get 15 or 20 more. I broom them and I block them. But I also get emails with video links. People say, Steve, check this out, and it's a link to a video. I will not, do not, cannot, am not, are not. I will not watch videos from links sent me in emails. And I've actually, people go, why not? What's wrong? And get angry with me. And the primary reason, the premier reason, is I get too many. I get dozens and dozens and dozens. And I used to respond back saying, I do not watch videos from email links. Sorry. I stopped doing that because it's taking up too much of my time. So if you send me a link to a video, I won't watch it. Number one, because I haven't got time. But number two, when was the last time you saw me make a video where I said, hey, everybody, we're going to sit down and watch a video together? I don't do the video reaction videos. I don't do the comment on other videos. That's not what I do here. If there's a story in the news and you saw a video about it that's interesting, find the news article and send me a link to that. Because I can glance at it and read it if I want to. But if I have to watch a video and go through all the commercials and I go, I just did this one 2 days ago, which has happened, by the way. So I do not watch video links. I'm sorry. And if that bothers you, don't send me video links. And we'll both be happy. I have to tell you this, and I'm only mentioning this as a public service announcement because I get phone calls every single day, 7 days a week at my office. I get phone calls every single day from people who say, Steve, I bought an RV. I need to talk to you. I've said repeatedly, I do not handle RV cases. Haven't handled them in years. And I also get people calling me from other states. Steve, I'm in Oregon. I bought an RV. I need your help. Can't help because you're in Oregon and I don't handle RV cases. I actually had somebody call me the other day and they go, Steve, someone gave me your number, said I needed to call you. I look at the number at the front there, the area code, and it's someplace else, Baltimore, San Diego, I don't know. Call him back. I go, what can I do for you? I bought an RV. Okay, why are you calling me? Someone told me to call you. Okay, I'm in Michigan. Okay, but I bought an RV. yeah, I'm in Michigan. I can't help you. And I don't handle RV cases. Well, then why did my friend tell me to call you? They're your friend, not mine. I'm really sorry. But I also cannot handle cases out of state. And I've mentioned this before, but I'm mentioning it again because apparently I need to. I get people calling me, and they'll say, Steve, or emailing me also, I'm desperate. I have a problem. And they're in another state. And I write back to them, or if I speak to them, I tell them, I say, I can't handle cases out of state. I can't. I'm sorry. They go, well, let me ask you a question. I can't answer your question if it's legal in nature. Let's pretend I'm in Michigan. Well, I know you're not. So I'm sorry, but I can't do that. And that would be practicing law without a license. It's one of the things that gets lawyers in trouble. And so lawyers don't come into Michigan to practice law here unlicensed. I don't go into other states and practice unlicensed. So I'm sorry, I can't help you. I also, and I forgot I wrote this down, but I think it's actually, I'm glad I did. I get a lot of emails from people who say, Steve, you've got to do a video about my story. And they tell me their story, and I read the story, and I go, wow, that's compelling. That's a compelling story. How do I know that's true? And I've had people say, well, Steve, I'll tell you it's true. It's true. How do I know it's true? And I also have people tell me that they're involved in a court case. I filed a lawsuit. I'm suing somebody. I say, okay, call me back when the case is resolved. It's settled. It ends with a verdict, something like that. If you can show me the court documents showing the case is resolved, I'll talk about it. But the mere fact that you filed a lawsuit, now I know some people say, Steve, but I've seen you do stories about lawsuits that have been filed. Yes, sometimes merely the filing of a lawsuit does make the news. Somebody files a lawsuit against Pop-Tarts because the strawberry Pop-Tarts don't contain strawberries. The filing of that lawsuit is news. Now, if you're the one who filed that lawsuit, send me a copy and I'll consider doing a story on it. But I get these emails from people or phone calls from people. And hey, Steve, I just filed a case here in Nevada. And I say, okay, tell me about it. And they go, well, they start describing it to me. I'm like, well, is it in the news or anything? No. Do you have a copy of the complaint? They send me the complaint. The complaint is similar to lawsuits being filed all across America every single day in every single court. It's not really news, So I tend not to cover personal stories of people unless those stories have made the news. And by the way, I've been contacted by a lot of people. I don't normally talk about this in other settings, but I've done stories recently where I did this story about the guy in Texas who was not allowed to use the most obvious defense to the claim against him in a criminal case. And I did the video about that. And I got a really nice email from his attorney. And his attorney wrote me and said, Steve, I want to thank you for doing that story about us. He goes, your presentation was good, and I wanted to thank you. Thank you very much. And I wrote him back and I said, just so you know, my biggest fear is when somebody sends me a note and says, I'm the attorney on this case. My fear is the next sentence is going to be, and you got it completely wrong. But he didn't say that. He said, thank you, you did a good job. But I do get contact from time to time by people in the stories or the attorneys who handle the cases in the news. And the other one I can tell you about is the guy down, I believe is in Ohio, who was walking through the county fair wearing a shirt that somebody deemed obscene, and they made him leave. And I actually spoke to him. He called me. So I've spoken to a lot of people in these stories, but usually they weren't the ones who brought me the story. They contacted me afterwards. So I did the story just the other day about how Google is alleged, and apparently it's admitted, to paying radio disc jockeys to read scripts and say things like, I use this phone, it's the greatest phone ever. The photographs it takes are amazing for the Google Pixel 4. And they never even had a Google Pixel 4. They don't even know what one is, other than it's something they're being paid to talk about. I had several dozen people go, oh, that's how all advertisements work. That's literally every single advertisement ever. Somebody wrote that. That's literally every advertisement ever. And that's obviously not true. The reason the story is in the news is that the FCC cracked down, but the FTC would have also. Because these people who were known public figures lied and said, I used this phone and I love it, when they didn't. And I had someone go, what about Matt Damon and crypto? Well, I saw the Matt Damon crypto commercial where fortune favors the bold. I don't remember him saying, and I personally have bought crypto from this exchange and I made money. And so there's a big difference between someone coming on screen and going, these widgets rock, versus, hey, I'm Steve Lehto. This widget right here, I've used this widget, best widget I've ever used. This widget's mind-blowing. I love this widget. This widget is great. You find out later the thing that's holding up on screen was an empty case. There's no widget there. I've never used that widget. And I was lying to you. The Federal Trade Commission would crack down on that. So it might seem like a distinction with very little difference. But the real point was that people listening to their local radio station and they hear, the geeter with the heater come on and say, I use the Google Pixel 4. It's the best camera phone I've ever used. The photographs are mind-blowing. And somebody later comes back and goes, the geeter with the heater doesn't have a Pixel 4. And just so you know, the geeter with the heater is actually a disc jockey. A real guy. Just the greatest name ever for a nickname for a disc jockey. I did a story about the funeral home in Australia. By the way, the geeter with the heater would never do that. He's an extremely upstanding guy. He's a great disc jockey with a great nickname. I just happened to yank that out of thin air there. I did the story about the funeral home in Australia. And I actually believe Australia can be pointed to in pretty much any direction because it's on the other side of the planet. But, or the other side of the disc, take your pick. And I said that when they suspected that the funeral home operator had misappropriated the jewelry that should have gone to the deceased, they raided the home and found it. And I got a really, really weird email from a guy who said, stop using the word raid. He goes, it was a legal action, what they did. It was legal. And his implication there is that the word raid implies it was an illegal action. And I don't know why people say these things without looking them up. It takes you longer to type me the wrong email than it does to look it up and save yourself the embarrassment. So I wrote the guy back and said, are you serious? Because if you looked at a dictionary, you'd realize that I used the word correctly. And I said, and just to be clear here, he said, stop using the word. I did when the video ended. The video is recorded. I said the word. I can't stop using the word in that video because it's pre-recorded. I don't know if people don't understand how videos work. When you hit play, I don't redo the video every single time for every single person that's play. It's recorded and goes onto a server, and when you hit play, it plays back a recorded message. I can't stop using a word in a message that's been recorded. I know you're going to say, Steve, he probably means you should take the video down. Well, yeah, if he's being idiotic, sure. But I used the word correctly. Raid simply means it was unexpected, unannounced. The police used to raid speakeasies all the time during Prohibition. It's a raid! Unless he thought I was meaning that raid is an insecticide and that they sprayed the building with insecticide before they searched it. I don't think that's what he meant, though. He goes, no, it was perfectly legal what they did. Stop using that word. That's a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with what's legal or not. But again, dictionaries will help you, and they're online now. You don't need to have a full set of the OED like I do. You can go onto the internet and type the word raid and then the word definition. You know what that means? Look it up. You can do that, and it'll come up and it'll say a bunch of things, including, an unexpected inspection or something. That's a raid. Nothing about illegal. I also had a crazy exchange with somebody who wrote me an email to complain and started by saying, Steve, I know you don't like emails to complain, but here we are. And he said, the story you did about the mountain man. And the mountain man, I say that because that's in the title of the story. There's the guy who lives, I think, in Montana, and he bought a piece of property that has an easement across it for the Forest Service. And the Forest Service easement specifically gives two purposes to which it can be used. The Forest Service itself can use the road, and they can allow people who are harvesting timber to use the road. That's it. That's it according to the easement. And the man noticed that there's other people using the easement, and apparently the Forest Service was encouraging people to use the easement, and he got angry and went and talked to them. They said, well, sue us. So he filed a lawsuit, and the Pacific Legal Foundation took it up. And I said that this guy has this lawsuit going, and he's filed a lawsuit. We'll see what's happening, because it's going to the U.S. Supreme Court. SCOTUS might decide this case. And so the real question here is simply the easement that was with his property. Can the Forest Service broaden the easement without compensating the man? That's the entire issue. And I thought I made that pretty clear. But I got an email from a guy who goes, Steve, I know you don't like complaint video or emails here, but here we go. He goes, I've got a friend who lives in that general area. Not on that road, but he lives in a general area. And he goes, so I thought to myself, I should ask him because he lives in the area. Maybe he's got some insight he can share. And he goes, and let me share you his insight. So this is supposedly the friend of the guy emailing me. And the start of the quote was F him, but the word F was spelled out. F him, referring to the guy who lives in the road. He goes, rich people buy up homes and try to block access to national forests. And he goes, that road is the only road in to that national forest. And that rich F is trying to stop people from getting into that forest. So that was his friend's take on this. He goes, I thought you should know my friend's take because my friend is obviously a neighbor of this guy, and so he knows more about this than you or I do. And I thought you'd be find it enlightening. F him, he's rich. So I didn't respond to the he's rich because I thought it's an interesting thing to suggest because he's being helped by a nonprofit legal organization. It didn't occur to me that he might be rich, but rich is a state of mind, I guess. I'm not sure what you define rich. Millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, cajillionaire? I don't know. But he said, it's the only route in to the forest, and he's trying to block it. That's an actual statement you can measure. It's the only route in to that forest, and that man's trying to block it. So I responded to the guy, and I shouldn't have, but I responded to him. I said, well, I don't know why your friend is so angry because he started with F him. I said, but I checked. It's not the only route into that forest. There's quite a few routes into that forest. So it seems to me that the number one complaint your guys got is that it's the only route in, but it's not. Therefore, I don't know. And I said, I don't know why your friend is so angry, but it's not the only route in. So I simply looked at the email the guy sent me, spotted that the first sentence, besides the F him and he's rich, contained a false statement. So I wrote back and I said, I don't know why your friend is so angry, but it's not the only route into the national forest. The guy wrote me back and he goes, you don't get the point we're trying to make here. He goes, if he can get that road blocked, his own neighbors can't get to their own homes. What about that? And then he sent me screen grabs from Zillow showing how valuable some of the homes on that road are, aerial views showing where they lived with markup, and all of this stuff regarding this one road in. But you'll notice that no one's mentioned keeping other people who live on that road off that road. So it jumped from he's trying to block the only road into a national forest. When I say it's not the only road in, he then goes, he's trying to keep his neighbors from using the road, which no one ever said that. And so I'm going to tell you right now, I actually responded to that by saying, you can stop emailing me now. And I blocked his email, so I don't know if he's written back or not. I really don't care. But if you're going to argue, I actually was thinking about doing an entire video on this. If you're going to argue with somebody, try to make your argument coherent so that it's clear what you're trying to say. So if you're trying to say that this guy's not nice because he's trying to screw his neighbors over, stick with that argument. But when you say it's the only route into the national forest, if that was true, he's trying to screw everyone over but himself and the other people on the road. But when I point out that you've made a statement that's false, you should at least address that and go, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it's the only one in. I'm sure he meant to say that it's the only handy one in. It's the only one on that side. But the fact is that I pointed out the statement was false. And instead of addressing the fact that we have diametrically opposed statements here, and one of them is obviously true, and that's mine, you don't then jump to argument B. What about argument A? Because you and I both know that if I'd written back and said, he never said he was trying to keep his neighbors off the road, then the guy would have jumped to argument C, which would have been something like, I bet he takes pot shots at cars as they drive by, too. I bet he does that. Oh, are you saying he's allowed to booby trap the road, too? Oh, no, oh wow, now you're saying... You can't argue with people who don't even respect the basic form of an argument, okay? So, and by the way, don't send me emails complaining about videos because they rarely end well. And finally, I'm going to say the last word about the alleged missing photo section in American Murder House. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned that somebody had emailed me and said, hey, Steve, I bought American Murder House. It doesn't have pictures in it. And I said, that's strange because my copy's got pictures. And I looked and I went and pulled mine out, and sure enough, it does. And she goes, don't know what to tell you, mine doesn't. So I sent her a photograph of mine, and I said, check it out. There's the cover to let you know that I got the right version that you've got. And, there you go. Cover pictures, right? She sent me a screen grab from Amazon of the cover going, it says it's got pictures. I said, I know. It has pictures. She goes, mine doesn't. Never sent me a copy of hers, though. And I speculated that what she was trying to do is blackmail me. And I had people jokingly say, Steve, come on, blackmail? The word's probably harsher than it needs to be. She's somebody who did not buy a copy of the book. And what she was thinking was, if I write to Steve and say, hey, I got a copy of the book, Missing Pictures, he might just say, give me your address, I'll mail you one. Because I've given copies of this book away. And I told people I had several cases I sold a while back. And she probably just thought I can get a free book from the guy. And when I told her, in essence, I don't believe that you bought a copy of the book, can you send me a photograph of your book missing the pictures? She got angry. And instead of returning her book to Amazon for a refund, or sending me a picture of the book with no pictures, she went onto Amazon and posted a review saying the book has no pictures. But she posted it as a 5-star review. This is important. She posted it as a 5-star review. When I sent her an email and said, I thought about this. You never sent me a picture of your book. You never sent it back for a refund. I don't think you have a book. Are you trying to blackmail me? In other words, do you want me to send you a free book, or were you hoping I'd pay you? Because I will not do that. Just to let you know, I'm an attorney. I don't take kindly to that. So I will not give you a free book, nor will I pay you. And I understand you put up a review. I don't care. After I sent her that email, she went and changed her review to a 1-star. So it was a 5-star. When I told her I won't pay her to change it, she changed it to a 1-star. So now here's the thing. I could have complained to Amazon and said, hey, somebody put up a false review. But the problem, of course, Amazon is a huge organization. Trying to get anybody there to respond to anything personally, I'm not even sure it's possible. So I just noticed that somebody else put up a review of my book that counters her review perfectly on point. And it says, hey, everybody, just to let you know, somebody else put up a false review of American Murder Houses saying it's got no pictures, that it's smaller and is missing pages. Just so you know, it contains pictures, and there's a photograph of the book showing pictures. It's got the correct number of pages because the pages listed in the description adds up. If you take the number of numbered pages along with the table of contents and the foreword and the introduction, it adds up perfectly to what they say there is. And page for page, it matches the original version. The only thing it is, they changed the margins around the pages. So there you go. And since that review went up, several people have marked it helpful. And if it gets marked helpful, it goes above her review because no one's marked hers as helpful. So her review will stay up. She's not getting a free book out of me. I'm not even sure she's really a she, but what are you going to do? My whole point, though, is this is the last time I'm going to talk about the alleged missing photo section from my book. And by the way, book is selling like hotcakes. So got to like that. I don't have any of the books right now. I might get a case or two in and do another thing just for the fun of it. But stay tuned here for that because I might do that. But otherwise, that's going to wrap it up for today on a Friday, the first Friday of December. And of course, Saturday night's the big game. It's the Big Ten Championship, my friends. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a blowout. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.